Hello and welcome to Intermediate Networking. I'm Cliff, I'm your instructor. And what I'd like to do now is go over the course portfolio project that's expected to be completed in week 8. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through some of the things that I would do as a student to make this as painless as possible. Now I'm going to explain some things to you about what is going to happen with your particular paper. All right, your paper has to be constructed a certain way, and I'm going to show you how to do that as painlessly as possible. I'm going to show you some tricks. I'm going to show you where to go get some diagrams. I'm going to explain to you how to use the tools to build a diagram and how to build your Active Directory infrastructure and your DNS namespace. I'm going to show you all that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to begin by going up here into the course information. And what everybody needs to do up inside of course information is read the course syllabus. Okay, make sure you do that and follow along with what's in there, because that's going to answer a lot of your questions. A lot of you are going to have questions, but hey, what am I supposed to be doing like in module 1? What do I do in module 2? What's happening with this course final project in module 8? So on and so on. Well, if you read the course syllabus, it's going to answer a lot of those questions for you. Of course, you can contact me. I prefer to be contacted by email and or phone call, but you can post a question to the general question forum inside of the course, and I check it every day and I'll find it. Okay, so here's the I'm at the bottom of the course syllabus, and we can see that it talks about the portfolio project, deploy and administer Windows Server 2012 project, right? And it says that you have to have at least a minimum of the following items. Should cover the following 4 numbered areas and associated bullet items listed in each area. So we're going to set up an APA template for this, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and create our headers, and we're going to create our second level headers to include all this this information, so we cover everything. All right, that's how we make sure we cover everything. Okay, so the paper is to be written in a format. Well, that would be APA. So we're going to use APA formatting, but I'm going to show you how to make that as painless as possible. 6 to 8 pages in length, not counting diagrams. There should be only at least maybe 2 diagrams. I would use 2 diagrams for this, one for the Active Directory infrastructure, and then one for the DNS namespace. And I'll show you how to do that. And we're going to cite and discuss no fewer than 3 credible sources. That's pretty easy. The CSU library is a great place to look for that, but you can also use Google Scholar to narrow down that search. And I'll cover Google Scholar in a little bit more detail here. Okay, so let's just cut to the chase here, and let's go down to where the portfolio assignment is actually listed, and that's in module 8. All right, so let's open that up, and here we see the module 8 portfolio assignment. Okay, let's open this up here real quick, and what this is going to tell us is everything that we need to provide for this particular portfolio. Again, what we're looking at here is just a repeat of what was in the syllabus. Okay, all right. So, and it tells you the same thing, but there's something else down here, and that is the scenario. Now the scenario has the meat of what is expected to be in your paper. So let's open that up. All right, so here's the scenario, and I want to go over this with you line by line real quick. All right, and it tells you that Worldwide Advertising has hired you as an IT consultant. It's a new advertising firm, and they are currently hiring IT staff. Now, important things to note: establishing 2 locations. All right. Okay, you are required to supply WAI with a solution that describes the implementation and configuration of their core IT services. All right. It makes note of some interesting things in here, such as the cost of the implementation is not expected to exceed the company's budget, so you don't have to worry about that, and so does not have to be considered in this solution. your solution is expected to automatically fall within the allocated budget for this network design. Now, WAI wishes to implement a solution to meet the company's needs for the next 2 to 3 years. That's pretty ambitious. Most network designs last anywhere from 4 to 7 years. Very few companies, unless they're a non-profit, will go out and implement a new infrastructure. Non-profits don't have a problem because they don't have to make any money. They just get their money from donors and the states and the government, so they can do whatever they want with that money. And if you're working on a business where you have to earn the money, that's a little bit different. That network proposal would probably be more realistically 5 years. I would say 5 to 7 years. You're still going to find networks out there that are running Windows 2000 or Server 2000 and Windows XP workstations, and they're running Server 2003 and Server 2008. Not everybody is going to upgrade. There has to be a need, okay? So I just want you to be aware of that. So for this here to say that we're going to build a network for 2 to 3 years, I'd kick that out a little bit further, but I'm just letting you know that. For this particular portfolio, 2 to 3 years is fine. So there are several details about WAI which will have an impact on your choices. It's going to start with 300 employees. That's pretty ambitious. The following departments. Now this is your Active Directory structure. All right. When we build Active Directory, it's a hierarchy, and it contains the root, which is the name of the organization, and then we break it down by organization, or departments, or location, and or departments. Okay, there's about 3 or 4 different ways that we can build Active Directory, and I'll go over that with you in just a moment. Okay, so WAI will start with 300 employees. Executives, you have 10 employees. All right. Now I would make all of these folders or containers up inside of my Active Directory. I would have my top level root, which is the name of the organization, which would be Worldwide Advertising, or WAI. That could be the name of my root folder. Underneath that, I'm going to have my 2 locations. All right. So I'm going to have 2 locations. One's in Los Angeles and one's in New York. So I would have 2 subfolders following the root folder. And inside of each one of these root folders, or these secondary folders, I'm going to have my containers. So the one in Los Angeles is going to have a container for executives, accounts and sales department, creative media and production department, human resources and finance, and an IT container. Okay, now I've just given you the Active Directory structure. All right, it was based on 2 things: location and function. All right. So we now know that we have 2 sites, one in Los Angeles and one in New York. Most staff will be located in Los Angeles, with at least 1 person from each department located in New York. That tells us a lot of information and tells us where we can focus our budget on, which is going to be Los Angeles. New York is just like a remote site. Networking equipment is already in place for both sites. That's nice. We have a secure tunnel using IPsec will be established between the 2 sites so that inter-site traffic will be securely tunneled over the internet. Now we talk about VPN. All right. Well, a secure tunnel, a VPN, virtual private network, is what we use between remote sites to tunnel through the internet and encapsulate and encrypt our data to keep it away from prying eyes. You would never take a check, make it out to somebody, and drop it off inside of your mailbox and expect it to actually be delivered, would you? No. Well, it's the same thing with the internet. You can't be sending important private information across the internet and expect it not to be a possibility, at least, of it being compromised. And to prevent that, we encapsulate it just like we would take an envelope, and we would place our check inside that envelope, and we would address it to the individual, and then we would place it into our mailbox. All right? It's the same thing. All right? There's no difference. We are making sure that our data, our information, is going to be secure from point A to point B, and that's why I use a VPN. All right. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Some departments want their data to remain private from other departments. That's not a problem. We have File Resource Management Services, FRMS. We have NTFS file permissions. We can do all this. We don't have, you know, they're almost talking like they want a VPN, a VLAN here, but that's not what we're going to do. We're not going to get into VLANs, but that's kind of like what they're talking about here. But we can do this with just using the ACL and the discretion and control access list that we have available within the properties of each folder and each file. All right, we can restrict access to those documents and folders. All right, and if you can't see it, you can't access it. All right, so we'll talk about that a little later too. Assumptions can be made regarding information not included here. All assumptions should be identified, however. So if you want to add something to this, you can. You don't have to worry about the firewalls or intrusion detection system or anything. This is more like a high-level flyover of 35,000 feet of what the network is going to look like for WAI and their two locations, one in Los Angeles, one in New York City. Okay, so what are we doing here? Well, let's go look at how we're going to set this up. Let's start at the beginning. Now, if I were a student and I had to do this project, I'm going to start this project in week 1. I'm just going to start the project. I didn't say I was going to work on it per se. I said I'm going to start the project. And how I'm going to start the project is real easy. I'm going to go create me a folder. All right. So I'm going to go up inside of my Dropbox. Now, what is Dropbox? Dropbox is where I keep all of my important data, and I keep it off of my local area network in case a disaster strikes. I also keep it in Dropbox, which is out in the internet. It's in the cloud. And what I'm doing is I'm allowing myself access to my data 24/7, 365 from anywhere in the world, from any machine in the world. That's what I'm doing. You follow me there? So that if my computer crashes, I can go down to an internet shop, I can go to anybody's machine, I can log into Dropbox.com, and there's all my data. Everything is there waiting for me, just as if I had my machine. This is all transparent to me. It looks like it is on my local machine. All this looks like it's local, but it's not. All right, it's actually out in the internet. All right, so here's my Dropbox right here. Okay, this is my Dropbox application right here. This is also my Dropbox application, but this is where I open it up. Now, I started out with the free account, which is 5 gigabytes of free online storage, and I push everything that's important to me up into one of 3 locations. I either use Dropbox, I use Google Drive, or I use OneDrive. All right, these are all out in the cloud. These are all locations where I can store my data. Now, why do I do that? I do that so I can sleep at night. Nothing is stored locally on my machine. Okay, my desktop is not local. My desktop is backed up to Google Drive. My documents, my documents are actually stored on my Google Drive. All right, so if I drop something on my desktop, it's automatically pushed out to Google Drive. If I drop something inside of my documents, it's automatically pushed out to Google Drive. All right, now I want to mention this to you because this is a technology course. In technology, the very basics of what we do is allow for the sharing of data. And if that data is not available because we didn't back it up properly, or we didn't think we were going to need to back it up, then we've lost it. Okay? Now, everybody thinks that their pictures and their music and their videos is really important until their computer crashes. When their computer crashes, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, I need access to my financial documents. I need access to my tax documents. I need access to all this information that I no longer have access to, not just pictures and bootleg music. All right. You need access to your data. And in this case, we're talking about our schoolwork. All right. So I have a folder here. It's called CSU Global. And inside CSU Global, I can make a new folder. And I'm going to go back up here to my course room, and I'm going to get this right here. All right. That's all I need right there. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go back up here to my folder. And I'm going to call this folder up inside of my CSU Global Intermittent Networking. Now I'm going to create another subfolder. And I'm going to call this the final project. All right. Now, I now have a basis for backing up my final project to the internet and not to my local machine. So if you were to call me, if any student wants to call me and say, oh, my computer crashed, it's in the shop and I can't get access to my final project, I said, well, this is a technology course. And we should be able to exactly do what we preach. We don't talk about data backup and securing our data just to clients or in the course room. We practice what we preach. So I'm letting you know right now that you need to have access to your final project come week 8. Telling me that your computer crashed, I'm probably not going to be very receptive to that because I've just told you how to back it up to the cloud. All right, let's move on. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to show you. Go to Start. Go to your Word program. I don't care if it's Word 2010, 2013, or 2007. It doesn't make any difference. Open up your Word program. You go to File. You're going to go to New. Inside of New, you're either going to search for our APA template or you're going to use the APA style report template that is available. Double click it. This is the template that is already built for you. You don't have to do nothing. It's all done. This is the template. Everything is here. All right. So all you got to do is just fill in the blanks. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and build our template for this course final project. And we're going to start by going back to our course final project. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this right here like this. Ba-boom. Go back to my paper. Click here. Control V. Change the style to the style of the document, default style of the document. And there you go. Now I'm going to go up here. I'm going to take out this running header. I'm going to Control V. Done. All right. Now go ahead and type in your student name. And let's just say Jane Doe. This is your name. Okay. The affiliation, CSU Global. You can type in my name. And today's date. And I'm just going to go up here because I want this date to automatically be updated. So I'm going to go to date and time. I've got automatic update check. This is the dating format that I want to use. I say OK. And now I have my title page all done. Wow. What did that take us? About 2 seconds, right? Get rid of this information. We don't need that. We can use a little bit of an abstract. What you're doing here with the abstract is real simple. You're going to tell the reader what it is that you are presenting in this paper. This paper is about WAI and designing for them a network infrastructure that will allow them to communicate securely between their Los Angeles and their New York site. This paper demonstrates how to deploy Server 2012 and allow for the services that are needed, blah, 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 blah. All right, that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so you can have an abstract. This paper is too short for a table of contents. If it's less than 10 pages, you don't need that. This paper has already got the font and the font size set up. You don't have to mess with it. This paper will keep the same font and the same font size throughout the document. Okay. All right. So now we see that I have the running header, and there's the title for my document. It's already in there for you. You don't have to do anything. All right. Now here you provide a short introduction about what we're going to be doing here in this paper. Just a short introduction. All right. We've gone and we've designed an Active Directory hierarchy and a DNS namespace, blah, 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 and this is what it's going to look like, blah, blah, blah. All right, so what do we do here? Well, you go like this. You go back over here, and let's go back one level. Let's go back to the actual requirements for the course. All right, we can just back up one level here. I'm going to do that. So I've already got my I've already got the fun stuff already done here. All right, we're going to go back up one more level here. Okay. I guess I'm not. I guess I'm going to have to get out of here. All right, let's go like this. Course information. And what we can do now is we can set those little headers up with the information. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm building my template for the course. I've already got the APA out of the way. I don't have nothing to do now. All right, I got nothing to do now except fill in the blanks, and that's what we're doing. All right, we're just filling in the blanks. Okay, that's it. Okay, so we have your solution should cover the following numbered areas and associated bullet items within each. So we have deployment of server and server additions. Okay, so let's go back to our paper here. What we want here is this. We want to put all this down here like this. Okay, that's my secondaries. Okay, and that's where we want that. All right, now this here would be the actual design or the deploy and administer Windows Server 2012. I don't like that title. Let's see. I need a header here, so I'm just going to go in and just type in. Let's just make it simple. WAI network design proposal. I like that. Oh, there you go. All right. And underneath the design, we're going to talk about deploying the server and the additions. I can get rid of this here now. I'm going to delete that. I don't need that. And we can add our other areas of concern. Here we go, DNS. All right, so I can just go in here and type in, let's see. The way I would do this is like this. I'm going to do this like this. I'm just going to grab this here. I'm going to take this like this and just say DNS. Okay, and I'm just going to push this over here like so. All right. And here we go. I want to do this here. Okay. All right, backspace it. There we go. All right, like that. And I'm going to do that with the rest of my headers here. All right, I don't have to worry about these headings 4 and 5 and things like that because I'm not going to go that deep. I'm only going to go the header 1 and the header 2. And then I'm going to fill in the blanks. Okay, so I'm going to fill in the blanks here. And I'm just going to do this with the other headers as well. Okay, you can delete all that. And now I'm going to have a network diagram. Okay, so we're going to talk about the network diagram. So I got my network diagram here, and we have two. We have the Active Directory structure, And let's see, make that a little bit better. All right, and I'll do that. Okay, and we'll go ahead and bold that. That's going to be another heading 2. Okay, because we don't have to go much deeper than that. There's no need. Pretty simple. All right, and then we're going to talk about, we've already got our DNS. Now we're going to talk about the network diagram. But also remember that we have the file and print sharing here. All right, pretty simple stuff. Because we're talking about file and print sharing, we're talking about keeping people out of the accounting department, right? So that's something else we got to talk about. So I'm going to put that here like that. And I'm just going to go ahead and highlight that. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to fill in the blanks, okay? So underneath here, I'm going to talk about deployment and the server editions. I'm going to talk about the DNS. I'm going to talk about the file and the print servers, the Active Directory structure, okay? All right, now the diagrams. Okay, well now we can just type in diagrams here. Now let's talk about the diagrams. Keep it as simple as possible. Now you don't want to be doing things like making this too complicated. All right, here we see a very simple basic diagram, and it covers everything that you are required for this portfolio assignment. I have my Active Directory and I have my DNS namespace. That's represented in the circle. And I have the Active Directory namespace, or the Active Directory structure here. All right. Well, let's get rid of, let's just look at this diagram just for a second. So this here could be Los Angeles, this here could be New York. This here brick wall represents the firewall. This lightning bolt represents the VPN. This cloud represents the internet. All right. So this here would be WAI.com, WAILA.com. This here would be WAI.ny.com. All right, and here look what's going on here. Here we have a secondary DNS that is pulling the information or the updates from New York over to Los Angeles, and the Los Angeles updates are being pushed over to the New York site. If we had a server in New York, now we have to remember, now there has to be a need. Do I need a DNS server over in New York? Do I have to have one? And remember, we got this VPN. We can allow New York to connect to the Los Angeles site to authenticate and to have access to the application server and to the file server and everything across the internet. We don't have that many people over here. We've only got like 4 people. Is a server 2012 license and the hardware justified for the New York location? Well, that's subjective. I say no. So how are they going to use DNS? Right here. I'm just going over this with you. I'm just how I would do it. This here would, for me, these would be ASA 5500s, Cisco firewalls. I would create a DNS server up inside the firewall and allow it to hand out IP addresses to the 4 clients that are sitting over here. That's what I would do. And that'll take care of the DNS. Now, when the clients want to connect over to the Los Angeles site, it's pretty transparent to them. All right, we can create shares over here. We can have the shares dropped in over here, right on their desktop, network drives. So they can just go in and open up the network drive. It'll go across the VPN. It'll access whatever is inside that network drive. All right, it's that simple. And there's other things that we can do too, but that's the simplicity of it. You know, RDP, they can use remote desktop protocol, access the Los Angeles site using RDP, and gain access to the application server. log into it as a user using terminal services. And they then run their applications and everything as if it was sitting over here. It's transparent to them. It's a little slow, but I mean, how much traffic do you think you're going to have going across here every day? The most traffic you're going to have is when those 4 or 5 users come into the office. They need to authenticate. That authentication is going to go over here to the root server or the Active Directory server, and that's going to authenticate them. That's it. Now, if there's email, that's different, but we don't have to talk about email. All right. And for a company this size, I would probably farm out the email. I don't know that I'd have an Exchange server in-house. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so that's how I would go about building my network diagram. What am I going to use to build my network diagram? I'm going to use a number of free utilities or trial applications. One of them is Visio. I can go out here to the internet and I can type in trial version Visio. And there it is. Let's see. Here we go. Try Visio Professional 2012. And I can get this for, I think it's 60 days. All right. Long enough for me to build my network diagram. All right. You got Visio Professional, Visio Standard. Now this is 2016. Wow. Here we go. All right. So there you go. Yeah, it's 2016. All right. So now I can use Visio. I can use the trial version of Visio. I can also use SmartDraw, which I prefer. I like SmartDraw. SmartDraws are pretty cool. And I can also type in network diagram. What's that, right? Templates. Now I can go out here. Let me back this up one level here. And you'll see up inside of SmartDraw, I can get all these templates. Now, this template right here, let's see, this one right here is something I could probably find inside of SmartDraw. I could then delete all the names, change everything around, and I'm good to go. All right, and I can get this. I think it's for 30 days. All right. So when you get ready to build your network diagram, you can try out SmartDraw. It does have a watermark. I don't care about the watermark. It's there. You know, you can use it. All right. They have a nice trial version. You can also use Network Notepad. Network Notepad is free. Been around forever. Network Notepad. It's been around forever. It also does network diagramming. Yeah, see? So you can build your network diagram using this here too. Now there's two different types of network diagrams. You have the logical and you have the physical. The logical is what shows how the data is traveling. This is a logical diagram right here. Actually, it's a combination. We have a logical and a physical, right? This is more of a physical right here. We actually see the devices. We see this the PC, the modem, the laser printer. When we get up into this area up here, this is more of a logical, all right? And we're showing how the data travels at this high-level overview, okay? So you can use this tool if you like. It's pretty easy to use. So now you got 3 choices for creating your network diagram. And there are lots of other free choices out there as well, okay? So don't just restrict yourself to these 3 that I mentioned, but you can also just go out and you can type in free network diagramming software. All right. And this will bring up all kinds of free solutions for you. All right. 5 free apps for diagramming your network from Tech Republic. All right. And there's lots of other ones out there. Flowchart Maker. Now you could use PowerPoint or you could use Word. I don't prefer that you do, but I'm just saying you could. All right. The more time you put into this process, the better looking your network diagram is going to be. And presence is everything. All right. You know, that initial impression. When I open this up, I'm looking. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this right here. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for your introduction, your abstract, and I'm looking for this all laid out, dress right, dress, and your references and your network diagram. And then I'm going to see that everything is APA, dress right, dress. We're now going to go look at the content. I'm going to load this up inside of Word. I'm going to turn on spell check and grammar check. And if there's nothing majorly wrong with your paper and everything is where it's supposed to be and you've done a good job identifying this, then I don't see a problem. All right? Okay. Now, we've covered the VPN solution. We've covered having our data backed up to the cloud. We've also talked about using some network diagramming tools. We talked about the DNS and the Active Directory infrastructure. Now, what about Active Directory? Active Directory diagramming, all right, it's not that hard. Here we see it's kind of like this. You can do it a number of different ways. This is the DNS name, all right, and this is how it breaks down. But when it comes to Active Directory, all we're looking at is a hierarchy. Okay, so let's go into Active Directory design, Active Directory design. By the way, I'm up inside of Google Images is where I'm at. Okay, that's where I'm at. Design diagram. All right, so we want to design our Active Directory, and like I told you earlier, there's a number of different ways we can do it. We can use location, function, and department. Okay, so here we see, here is our top level domain. It's Contoso. In our scenario, this would be wa.com. All right, and I'm going to have two different top level folders. I'm going to have my New York and I'm going to have LA, right? And then I'm going to have another top level one called New York. Now inside of New York, this could be LA. I'm going to see my executives. I'm going to see my research and development. I'm going to see my finance and accounting. Okay, and there we're going to break that down into some more subfolders, such as computers and users. I want to assign users to these particular containers. I want to assign my users to these particular containers so that I can roll out what's called a GPO. All right, so I'm going to a group policy object, which is going to allow them to have certain access to certain things and not access to other things. Right, let's see if I can find some more diagrams in here for you. All right, so let's see what we got here. Okay, well, here's another example. Okay, so here we have, this could be WAI. Here we're just going to use this based on a simple Active Directory structure. So we've just got people up here, and we've got people in Sydney, people someplace else, and people in Brisbane. All right, so this could just be users. My users are in Sydney, they're in Casablanca, whatever that is, and Brisbane. Right, so you can come up with different ways to design your Active Directory. How do you know where to start? We start by looking at the organizational chart. That's where we begin. So we ask the client, can I get a copy of your organizational chart? And that's how I am going to help figure out how best to design my Active Directory. Okay, that's where we start. Okay, and then we have to realize that this is so important because you get one shot at this. You're going to get one shot at designing your Active Directory. All right, and if you don't do it right, what's going to happen is it's never going to be right. It's never going to be correct. Okay, so make sure that when you design Active Directory for real, I mean, you're going to go out into the IT world, you're going to find a Server 2003 or 2008 network, you're going to have to deploy Server 2012. Not everything migrates in the real world as Microsoft would like you to believe. I don't migrate anything. I take the time and I go in and I rebuild the Active Directory structure the way I want it to be, so that it is pristine. We want everything pristine, right? So we're going to redesign it, and that's how we do it. We get up inside of our Active Directory and we think about it very carefully before we deploy it. All right, so now look, that pretty much covers the course final project, and we set up that template, and I've shown you how to do your Active Directory. We talked about our DNS namespace, and we can get these diagrams to help us figure out how we're going to build our network diagrams. Okay, everything we need on the internet is for free. It's all out there. All you got to do is just go ask for it. Somebody's already built it, somebody's already designed it, somebody's already deployed it. It's all there for you. You just have to know how to ask. All right, now if you have any questions, you can post it to the general questions, or you can email me, or you can call me. I'm always available. My information is posted up on the course main page, and I look forward to hearing from all my students. Okay, all right, so start early and finish strong. All right, I'll see everybody in the course room. Thanks.